Welcome back to the Boot Room, and today we're running through 5 of the strangest managerial appointments in football history. Managers get sacked and hired in rapid fashion these days. There are even websites like the Sack Race that are dedicated to tracking the time before the latest manager gets sacked in a managerial merry-go-round. It's a crazy profession. At 5 is the most recent on the list to be appointed. David Moyes in his second spell at West Ham. The first time he was appointed, it wasn't a major shock, as Moyes is a highly respected manager, but David Gold and Sullivan didn't want the Scotsman to stay on longer. A bit like the ugly girl at the ball, West Ham had no other options after Pellegrini was pretty much an awful appointment. And by the end of the night, the two Davids returned to their less than attractive option. Everyone wants to play out from the back these days, and when they can't afford these expensive kind of players that can actually do it well, they sack their manager and hire someone to play lump football and get them out of trouble. Cue David Moyes. With some decent organisation and finding some good form out of Arnautovic, Moyes still only achieved 29% win ratio in his games, which is pretty dire. So we can see why the West Ham board didn't want to keep him on longer. But with the likes of Declan Rice and Felipe Anderson underperforming, one of Moyes' duties has to be to rejuvenate those players and the rest of a very flat squad. And if he can do that in his first 6 months, he might actually get to see out the rest of his contract. Number 4, Edgar Davids, Barnet. The Dutch football icon who wore those famous orange glasses, which were actually the same colour shade as the Bees home kit. The holding midfielder came out of retirement at the age of 37 to play for Crystal Palace on the other side of London, and in a 6-game stint for the Eagles was considered awful. Then he retired, and then he unretired and became player manager of the side who were rock bottom of League 2. In their first game, Barnet romped to a 4-0 win of Northampton Town, and he even won player of the match. However, things always looked a little bit rocky, and Barnet did work hard to get themselves out of trouble, and if they'd won on the final day of the season, they could have avoided relegation. However, they did get relegated to the conference, and the following season he gave himself the number 1 shirt and agreed with the owner of the club that he didn't need to travel to long distance away days. The owner of the club also said that Davids had started a football revolution in Barnet. He didn't, he just looked silly. Frank Rijkaard. Number 3 is Rijkaard, who, like his Dutch compatriot, is a legend of the game and was a world-class player on his day. His managerial stint was actually highly successful at Barcelona, managing the Catalan side to their first Champions League victory in 14 years. However, before that happened, he'd relegated Holland's oldest ever side, who'd been in the top flight for 114 years previous. In the 2002-03 season, Sparta Rotterdam were relegated by Rijkaard's hands. Then randomly he joined Barcelona. He promoted Messi to the first team and won the Champions League and 2 La Ligas against the Galactico era of Real Madrid. Incredible stuff. Ancelotti's move to Everton is one of the strangest appointments we've ever seen. He's managed the likes of Bayern, Juventus, AC Milan, Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, Real Madrid, and now Everton? Really? It just doesn't smell right. But for Carlo, his annual salary being the 3rd highest in the world, according to rumours, the Italian has confessed a love for the blue side of Liverpool, and Evertonians cannot believe their eyes. The Italian came out recently and said he tried to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin at Napoli. Maybe the Italian really was paying close attention to the blue side of Liverpool. With a 1-0 win over Burnley in his first official match in charge on Boxing Day, Everton fans will be hoping he can beat bitter rivals Liverpool in the FA Cup 3rd round clash on the 5th of January 2020. Number 1 is a man that not many Leeds fans knew, let alone football fans, as David Hockaday took over at the Whites in Leeds. This was his 2nd ever job after being quite an average manager in the lower leagues with Forest Green Rovers, only guiding them to mid-table places. Hockaday only won 1 league game in charge, and at points his players had no self-control. 4 players got sent off in 3 games. After 70 days, Cellino, the owner of Leeds, decided enough was enough and paid severance. Only the severance was tiny, as Hockaday was on a literally minimal salary of around £80,000 a year. Look, I'm not complaining or slagging that off, but in football that really is tiny. If David Luiz gets paid that a week to try and keep things tight at the back for Arsenal and failing miserably week in week out, Hockaday should be aggrieved he didn't get a little bit more at least. Hockaday is now a teacher at a football academy in the southwest. Weird appointment. Guys, thanks for watching. Are there any managerial appointments we've missed out? I'm sure there are tons that we can get to in the future videos. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and we'll see you soon.